Hi everyone, welcome to another video post here on the wealthforpearls.com website. My name is Rachel. I am coming to you from just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, from a small city, it's not so small anymore, called Langley. So this is the first of one of my goals for 2015, which is to do a monthly video post. I miss doing them, and I had started doing them quite regularly after Nora was born back in March, and then I sort of got out of the habit, and I think video posts are a great way to share spinning. So I thought that would be a wonderful way to keep you updated on my spinning once a month, talk about all things spinning rather than trying to squish them into blog posts and trying to get photos to do my spinning justice, talk about some of the things that are more miscellaneous. They don't really fit into a blog post as well. And it's a great way to talk about spinning. So I'm going to talk each month. I've kind of got a rough outline of what I want to talk about. It's sort of 5 main areas. The first one is reading. So whatever I'm reading about in spinning, books, magazines, articles online, I'm going to share some of that stuff with you. What I'm prepping, what's kind of going to go on to the wheel next. This often changes. I'll prep fiber and then I'll spin something else. But it just kind of gives you an idea of what's kind of next in the queue. What's on the wheel currently. I really like talking about my projects as I'm working on them, and sometimes written posts aren't great for doing that. We have the plague in our home right now. We've been sick for weeks, so that's why I'm doing this post regardless of being sick, because it's just been awful. The kids are sick, huge fevers, chest congestion, coughing. It's just been awful, and I just can't get rid of it. So I'm sorry if I sound quite coarse, but I thought I'd just take advantage of the house being quiet and record. So after what's on my wheel, I thought I'd talk a little bit about what's actually finished. Some of the stuff for January is stuff that I've actually already blogged about, but I thought I would show it anyways. And lastly, my handspun knitting. So one of my goals back in 2014 was always to have a project on the needles that was out of my handspun. What's ended up happening is I've got quite a few projects now that are finished that are out of my handspun. So I thought it'd be an opportunity to share with you some of that stuff, how it's wearing, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, etc. So let's go back to reading, and I'll chat with you a little bit about what I'm reading. So in my Christmas stocking, I got from my parents actually the Spinner's Book of Fleece by Beth Smith. I think everybody's been talking about this book in 2014. It was a big book that everybody kind of was looking forward to and was hoping would live up to everybody's expectations. And I think in general, all of us who are spinners would say that it absolutely did. So I'm on chapter 3 right now, getting to the yarn. So she talks about knitting, spinning for smooth knitting, spinning for color work and cables. She talks a little bit about weaving, which I might be participating maybe in a sheep to shawl in May of 2015. So I'm quite interested in what she has to say there, or what she had to say, because I've already read it. Talks a little bit about twist angle. So anyways, I've been working my way through this chapter. I think this is one of those books that, from my limited experience of reading it thus far, and I've been skipping around when I've been reading it in the evening while I'm nursing Nora before bed. I think it's one of those books that you're never truly finished. I think you read it and then you go back. It's a reference manual. So I am reading it cover to cover right now, but with the full expectation that I'm going to end up going back and rereading some stuff, using it for reference in the future. I'm really looking forward to getting into the back of the book, which is the different types of wools and some of the breeds under those wools. So actually, I've got it already earmarked with one of the tags from Christmas. I've been working my way through the long wools section. So that's what I'm reading. And I would highly recommend it. The other thing that I've been reading, and this was in my stocking, but this wasn't specifically in my stocking. You can see it underwent some water damage, unfortunately. I spilled coffee all over this issue. This is Ply Magazine. This was the, I feel like a beginner. I feel like I haven't done this forever, or that I've never done it before. I know what people mean now when they talk about that they're out of practice. I totally am. So this is Ply Magazine. This was the first issue that ever came out. I've been trying to get this magazine locally from my local yarn stores. I've tried to get it online by ordering issue by issue. And it's proven to be quite difficult to get because shipping issue by issue is actually quite expensive. So in my stocking from my husband was actually a subscription. So I'm really excited. This is a wonderful magazine. It was started by JC Boggs Faulkner, who, if anybody doesn't know who she is, go to Craftsy and check out Drafting from Worsted to Woolen. That's her. She's fantastic. She's a great teacher. She's tons of enthusiasm for spinning and for the craft in general. And she started this magazine with Beth Smith, who wrote this book, Jillian Moreno, who has another Craftsy class that you can access. Yeah, just lots and lots of people behind this who have a lot of knowledge. One of the things that I really enjoyed about this first issue of Ply was the article, Why Ply? The Inside Scoop about our new magazine. It's by Jillian Moreno, and it gives a rundown on why they started another magazine when there's already Spin-Off out there, Nitty Spin, which is an online magazine, as well as a few others. Anyways, so that's what I'm reading this month, and I'm sure there will be more issues and articles from Ply in the future that I'll talk about, but just for a general overview, that's what I'm reading this month. So what I'm prepping, I am prepping some Three Waters Farm. Three Waters Farm is a indie dyer based in the US. I think she's from North Carolina, but I can't remember. Anyways, I was in her sorry, my nose is itchy. I was in her fiber club for a few months, but I actually canceled my fiber club subscription with her in lieu of wanting to do some different things in 2015. But this was her November morning. It was 100% Falkland. Sorry about the camera. If I keep doing this, I'm going to upgrade my recording equipment, but not right now. So I've started prepping it. I keep my stuff in Ziploc bags because it's the best way to keep the kids out of it, because James is only 2.5 and he hasn't figured out how to open Ziploc bags yet. And this is what it looks like. I split the braid lengthwise in half, and now I'm going to split them. I'm going to take each of these bumps and I'm going to line them up so that it's in thirds, rip it apart, and do a traditional 3-ply. I wasn't going to originally because I was worried that I would lose this hit of gorgeous orange and coral in the middle of it. But I kind of don't care anymore. I really like the look of blended traditional 3-plies. And I have a specific idea for this, and it would need to be blended if that's what I am in fact going to do. So I'm going to get that on the wheel next, because I kind of want to get it out of my stash, because these aren't my favorite colors together. And while it's really super pretty, don't get me wrong, there's some other stuff that I want to work on more. So this is going to be my kind of colorful project for the next couple of months, next month or so. Yeah. The next thing that I'm prepping right now is the rest of my Sweet Georgia Glitterati, which was my December fiber club. I also canceled this fiber club as well. I canceled all of my fiber clubs except for Spunky Eclectic, which I'll maybe talk about more in future episodes why I did that. And there'll probably be some blog posts coming up about that, but I want to get into more breed specific spinning. So rather than being dictated what I'm going to spin based on color, you can dye whatever colors you want, and that's something I'd like to get into in the future, is some dyeing. But I'm more interested right now in breeds and what the different breeds spin up like and what I can use them for. And I don't want to spin superwashes. That's one of the big things about the clubs, is you do get a certain amount of superwash. So this is this was 63% superwash, 20% silk, 15% nylon, 2% silver, quote unquote, which is the sparkle. And I'll show you that later, the finished skein from my first bag. I did get seconds of this because I just love the colors. but this was the last time that I kind of spun for color in a club. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense, but this is going to go on the wheel next so that I have the whole 8 ounces that I have in my stash finished. Don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I have a rough idea. So that's that. And then the last thing that I'm prepping is my Hedgehog Fibers Club. This was part of my Christmas present for my husband, was a 3-month subscription to Hedgehog Fibers Fiber Club. She's based out of Holland. And it's another sparkly one, which is kind of funny. I do love sparkle, don't get me wrong. This is just absolutely beautiful. I hope that the camera will pick this up. I'm trying to get my face behind it so that it focuses on this. It's got some purples in there, some pinks, some grays, some blues, these hits of orange. That's not the orange, that's the orange. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. I have 250 grams of it because I got doubles for this club. I knew it was the only time that I would do a Hedgehog Fibers Club because I knew that I was getting rid of all my clubs. When I see this, I think little girl, I think Nora. There's these gorgeous pinks in there. Based on my experience with Hedgehog Fibers, which I'm going to show you next later in my finished, what I finished for my Handspun, her colors look really vibrant in the braid, but then when you spin them, they almost mute themselves because she leaves a lot of white underneath. Let me see if I can pull it apart and you can maybe see some of the white there. There it is. So they kind of get a little bit muted when you spin them, which I really, really, really like. And she's got some like gray browns in here because the color's muddied, and that's going to mute it as well. So yeah, I have 250 grams of this, which is just over 8 ounces. And the only problem with some of this stuff is it does get kind of clotted at the end. It's not quite felted, but it's more than just, you can't just pull it apart. So I do find there's a certain amount of waste with some of this stuff because it just gets kind of beaten up a little bit. But yeah, so I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I am thinking maybe something for Nora. I don't know if I would spin for a sweater for her because she's growing so quickly right now. But maybe. I don't know. I was kind of thinking something more she could grow into, like a shawl or like a striped study shawl kind of thing. So I don't know. But this is going to go on the wheel next. I probably will Navajo ply it or chain ply it so to keep the color repeats together. But I might change my mind. So I'll keep you posted. But that's going on the wheel next. So what's on the wheel? I've got 2 projects on the wheel right now. I don't know if these are going to get finished anytime soon. They might end up being on the wheel for a long time. They might end up being on the wheel like only for a short period of time and then come off right away. I don't really know. But when I first got back into spinning it back in the spring of 2014, so it's getting to be a while ago now, I picked up some Malabrigo Noob from one of my local yarn shops, which was the colorway Persia. I've showed this before. I think I showed this on one of my video casts back in the summer. Anyways, it's a 2-ply. This was the first just under 4 ounces. I think it's like 3.3 ounces or something. I got 248 yards, which wasn't really enough to do what I want with it. I needed a lot more, but this is quite thick and thin when I spun it. It's quite uneven. I was really happy with it when I finished it, like really happy. And now when I look at it, I guess I'm getting a little bit more of a critical eye. One of the things that I really want to work on in 2015 with my spinning is spinning consistently. So now that I'm spinning the other 4 ounces that I had, because I had 2 4-ounce braids of it, my spinning has improved so much that, sorry, the camera's trying to focus, that my singles now are way more consistent. And I actually took a workshop back in November about being more consistent in my spinning. It was led by a local spinner who's quite a well-known teacher. And she got me spinning a lot more consistently. So these are going to be quite different. So now I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to finish it off. I have it all prepped here. And the other thing too is like I would prep my fiber a lot differently now. Like these are all little bumps of fiber like this, little puffs. And I would do these, I'm gonna cough, I'm really sorry. I would do these a little bit differently now. So I've come a long way as a spinner, and I'm prepping my stuff a little bit differently now. And I think it's a good testimony that when I work on bigger quantities of fiber, I need to do it all at once, even if it gets kind of boring, because my spinning is changing enough right now as I learn and get better, that now I'm going to end up with 2 4-ounce quantities of yarn that are quite different. So it's okay, but I'm not sure what I can do with it. So I'll keep you posted. And the other thing that's on my wheel, which actually I can't show you because I left the bobbin on my wheel, is this crossbreed that I got. It's an unknown medium to coarse. I know a lot of wool sort of experts out there don't like the word coarse to describe fleece and sheep and wool and whatnot. They like to use the word strong. This is definitely strong. It doesn't, I thought it had more luster to it than it actually does. When I started spinning it back when I was relearning again, this has been in my stash for eons, like a long time. I'd say like 6-7 years. When I spun up my little sample when I was getting back into spinning, because I bought this because I was told that it was a really good beginning fiber. The thing is, because I'm a knitter and because I know what I like in my yarns, I knew right away that I didn't like it. It's full of neps and noils. It's very difficult to spin anything even or consistent because it's just chocker block with VM, and it's just not very nicely prepared. I'll show you what it kind of looks like. This is the roving. It's not particularly nice. It has a lot of potential though, and it's a crossbreed, so who knows what it is. It's some sort of medium fleece, lots and lots of VM. I don't know if you can see any of that. Anyways, it's this gorgeous heathered gray brown color. And my original plan, because I have a pound, was to spin it all up and knit something really wonderful with it. But the thing is, this is never going to be really super wonderful no matter what you do with it. It's not particularly soft, although it did soften up with washing. I don't care particularly whether, it's got a lot of guard hair in it too. I don't really care particularly whether my handspun is soft per se, but because I can wear a lot of really coarse stuff next to my skin, but I just couldn't see what I would do with it. So a friend of mine who lives locally and got me back into spinning back in the spring, she said to me, why don't we comb it out and see what comes of it? So Diana, who blogs over at 100milewear.com, I think she just changed her where she blogs at. I think she's at Blogspot now, so I'll link it down below. So her and I combed it out one evening, and we got the most beautiful combed fiber. So I got some combs a while ago. These are Robert Hawkins. They're from Ontario, from Peterborough. I love them. I combed a whole bunch of these little bumps out. So I have my little box that I'm working away at. So when I fill this box, I spin them, and then I comb some more, fill up my box, spin some more, comb some more, spin some more. And I'm getting these really cute little, I'm just doing a little bit of fiber at once, because if I do too much, there's still tons and tons of sort of junk in here. So I've been doing my little box. I'm pulling out the guard hairs kind of as I find them. But as I spin and wash and wear and swatch and whatnot, the guard hairs will naturally come out. But I've been working on that. So I've been kind of, because we've been so sick, I've actually been doing quite a bit of it in the evenings because I just don't feel like doing anything else. So that's on my wheel right now. It's very long stapled. It's going to be a super, super strong wool. Like it's quite long stapled. Here, let me see if I can show you. It's about 5 inches, which makes me wonder if, yeah, it's about 5 inches. It was quite long. So it's super strong. It's spinning up beautifully as a worsted. It's going to have a slight halo to it, I think. And I'm not putting a ton of twist into it, but I'm putting in quite a bit. I'm spinning quite fine. So I'm working right now on my short forwards draft. And so that's what I started with this, because the staples are so long, it's really lending itself to me just kind of focusing on that. I don't have to worry about it breaking. I don't have to worry about my fiber supply, because I've just got these little bumps. And so far so good. So I hope that next time, I hope in February I have something to show you, maybe the first couple of ounces plied up. And I can talk to you a little bit more about sort of how I found this whole process, because it's a little bit more labor intensive. But there's nothing wrong with that. I'm really enjoying it. I love combing. I have hand cards now, and I have a blending board and a flick carder. I like spinning from ponies and Rolegs, and I like that, but I love combing. So I think as I spin more, and as I do some of my breed specific sheep studies throughout this year as part of my goal and part of what I'm focusing on, I think more and more I'm going to be leaning more towards the long wools and combing and putting stuff through a diz and just seeing what different results I get, because I can't believe how much I enjoy that. I knew BFL was one of my favorite spins, but I'm really leaning more and more towards the long wools. So yeah, it's kind of exciting to sort of start to find like your spinning niche, what you like to do, what you like to wear, what you like to knit with. It's really exciting. So that's what's on the wheel. What is finished? This was my very first post for 2015, was my Hedgehog Fibers 50/50 merino silk. This is it washed and skeined. See if it focuses. It's really, really muted. Sorry, my camera's not going to focus. It's okay. I have a lot here. I can't remember my exact yardage, whatever. It's very light yarn. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm actually thinking maybe a lace shawl. It's Navajo plied, so the colors are all together, but it is so gray that I think it might actually lend itself to some lace. I was thinking maybe another swallowtail shawl knit on really big needles, or a springtime bandit. I'm not really sure, but yeah, it's very muted. It's very gray. From a distance, it's very, very gray, and it's got these really soft hits of cream. I'm really happy with how this turned out. So that is finished. The other thing that's finished is the first 4 ounces of the Glitterati. Like I said, I have a few ideas about what I'm going to do with this. So I had posted on Instagram, for anybody who follows me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram as well for pearls. I had posted on Instagram 4 different samples of this that I spun. So I did singles, Navajo ply, traditional 3-ply, and 2-ply. And I'm a big sampler. I love sampling. I almost like sampling more than the actual spinning, the project. I think it's why I skip around a lot between projects, and then I kind of regret not seeing a project through because my spinning changes, like I was saying about the Malabrigo Noob. But what I did with this was I knew that I probably wanted a traditional 3-ply, so I actually spun it all. I spun 3 bobbins, and I spun my singles onto each bobbin. And then when I was done, then I sampled. So then I pulled off some for singles, I pulled off some for Navajo plied, I pulled off the traditional 3-ply, and then I pulled off the 2-ply. And right away I was like, nope, I don't like the 2-ply, it's out. And then I looked at the 3-ply, and I wish I had them right here, but I actually put them away. So I shouldn't even be talking about this. I should have gotten my samples, but that's okay. The 3-ply was very this colorway is called Starry Nights, and it really, the 3-ply really did look like Starry Nights. It really sang, I think. The problem is that I had spun for a worsted weight. That was my original goal. And when I saw the 3-ply as a worsted weight, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna end up with a lot of yarn, but not enough to do anything with it. And the Navajo ply was the same, although it kept the colors together. So what I decided to do in the end was I actually did an intentional 2-ply. So as much as possible, I kept the colors together. So because I had the 3 bobbins, I just kept like disconnecting and reconnecting the right color. So if I was spinning, if I was plying and I ended up with a white and a blue, I would pull off whatever I had on the 3rd bobbin. So if the 3rd bobbin was at the point where it had dark blue, I would pull off the white and add that, so that I ended up with as much of the color together as possible. So that actually worked out really well. So I ended up with my favorite, which is 2-ply. And then it looks like there's a lot of barber pulling, but that's actually because this was just the very, very end of what I had that was kind of left over. But the rest of it's actually quite well color matched. So I'm going to do that with the other, I'm going to do it again with this. And then I'll see what my yardage is. And this was pencil roving, which is kind of fun for the month. So it's super fast to spin, no prep. So I'm going to do the same with that one, see what my yardage is. I suspect I'm going to end up with about 700 yards-ish from the 2 bags. And then I'll see if I have enough to do what I want to do with it, which is a sweater, but I don't know. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted. The last thing that's finished is this little piece of sweetness. So this is, the color's not doing it justice. It's actually a lot darker than this. Well, not a lot, but it's definitely a couple of shades darker. I'll pull it away from the camera. Maybe it'll show up. That's more like what it is. So this is a beautiful coral color. It's called, the colorway was called Sunrise. This is from Smith & U, which is based in Kamloops, which is in the interior of British Columbia. It's a 80-20 superwash merino, or a merino nylon blend. It's superwash. This is some of the last superwash that I have in my stash. I have about 4 other things in my stash that are superwash, and like I said, I'm kind of trying to get it out of my stash. I'm just not a super big fan of superwash. It's just not my favorite. So what I did was it was a semi-solid braid. So I bought some Angelina Sparkle in raspberry. I'm gonna start coughing. That's better. And I put it on my blending board, and I made these little ponies. And I blended in the raspberry sparkle, and then I spun. And this was the 2-ply that I ended up with. I'm running out of bobbins. I need to buy some more, but I'm waiting for Acroworks to release Kromsky travel bobbins. So that's why I'm kind of not buying any more wooden bobbins. So yeah, I spun these. I just kind of pre-drafted them each, just to kind of get some air out of them. And then I did a short backwards draw, letting some of the twist into the fiber supply, so sort of a semi-woolen spin. And I've ended up with this really light, very airy, sparkly, kind of coral colored pinky yarn. I still have a little bit more to ply, but my bobbin was full. So I'm gonna finish plying that, and then I'll finish spinning up this onto 2 bobbins, and I'll apply it because it's all prepped and ready to go. I just have to actually do it. And once it's all done, I'm actually going to knit a shawl for Nora. These are totally her colors. She looks amazing in them. I'm glad that she's dark because I'm so fair, and she's very much like my husband's side of the family. Dark hair, dark eyes, beautiful olive skin. Gorgeous blue eyes, that I can put her in colors that I can't wear. So I'm having a lot of fun working with these colors that like I just have never gravitated to. I totally am a neutrals girl. I love blues and browns and yellows and cream, everything in cream, please. Gray is my favorite. And now for Nora, I can work in oranges and reds and purples, and although I can wear purple, but coral. So eventually, I don't know if anybody's seen the Curls shawls. It's an ebook. I think there's a printed version as well. I'll link to it down below in the show notes. But I'm gonna knit her one of those out of this when it's done. So it's kind of a long-term project for when she's older, a little bit bigger, and she wants her own, like she's old enough and big enough to wear scarves. That's going to be for her. So she's only 9 months. So I'm thinking for like when she's like 5. So this is a long-term project, but I do want to get it off the wheel because I want to get it finished so that I know what my yardage is and I can just start working on it slowly and then maybe put it away for her. My best friend's daughter is she just turned 2, and she's actually started taking Amber's shawls from her and wearing them and stuff. So I was like, well, maybe Nora would want to wear something like that by the time she's 2. So we'll see. But that's what this is for. That's this project. So that's everything that's sort of that I'm prepping, that's on my wheel, that's finished, that's off my wheel. That's what I'm reading. That's what I'm looking at this month. My first sheep study, so breed specific sheep wool study. I'm quite sick, so I'm like, my words are all over the place. I'm really sorry. Is on Blueface Lister, BFL. I'm not going to be looking at superwash stuff. I'm only going to be looking at the breed and the, isn't this terrible? I call it the real wool. That's kind of bad, but so I won't be looking at superwash BFL, which is really common and it's very accessible. There's lots of it out there. So BFL, I have some BFL, lots of BFL in my stash. I also have some BFL in silk, so I'm going to look at that over the next couple months. I'm going to be looking at how these sheep are raised, where they are from, what their characteristics are like. Some sheep are characterized, you hear farmers talking about them as being playful. So I'm going to look at the characteristics of BFL as sheep. Do they lamb well, mother well? So I'll kind of do like an overview of sort of what BFL are all about. And in conjunction, while I'm spinning up some BFL and I'm working with it, I spun some BFL socks for my husband back in the summer, so I'm going to do a bit of a reflective post about how they've worn, how they washed, because they weren't super wash, they were regular. So yeah, that's kind of what's coming up on the blog and what I'm going to be working on from now until March, and some of the video posts will probably incorporate that to a certain extent in February and again in March. Lastly, the final thing I want to talk about was my handspun knitting. So this was my Christmas shawl that I knit in December 2014, so just recently. It's just newly off the needles. It is You and Me Fiber Arts that are based in, she's an indie dyer that's based in Texas. This is actually a lot browner than what's showing up on the camera, but this is the Asunder pattern by Lisa Much. She's of Northbound Knitting. I'll link her down below as well. She's a Canadian designer from Ontario. And this was in the Cola Classic colorway. It was a 2-ply that I did. I had 8 ounces of it, and I've actually got quite a bit of it left over, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I might do a toque actually, striped with cream. But yeah, I've been wearing this quite a bit. It's quite warm. It looks great over black. And I really enjoyed making it. During the dye process, the Stellar colorway, it's a merino silk, merino mulberry silk and stellina blend. The stellina that's in it went this gorgeous gold color. So the shawl has this very luxurious kind of feel to it, I think. I really like it. I love how it turned out. I modified the pattern a little bit so that I would have a longer shawl, and it's got this double garter stitch in it that turned out really well with the handspun. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. I cast it off a while ago. I added a picot border, which again, I really like the effect of. Sorry about the camera. I will upgrade my equipment if I enjoyed this and keep doing it. So that's what I've been wearing. That's what I have off the needles. So I hope that everybody's doing well. Happy January. I hope it's not too grim and terrible weather where you are. We are actually having a flash snowfall, so go figure. Happy knitting, happy spinning, and I'll see you in February. Bye everyone.